The alien warlord mocked human music. Then he wept part. One Admiral Eliza Voss stood tall despite her small human frame, facing the towering semicircle of the Galactic Council's judgment chamber. The enormous room stretched upward into darkness, its ceiling lost in shadows far above. 57 species watched with compound eyes, sensory stalks, and crystalline receptors and not one of them seemed friendly to Earth. The chamber itself looked designed to make visitors feel small and afraid. The walls were made of polished black stone that swallowed light instead of reflecting it. Strange machines hummed along the edges, creating different air pockets for each alien delegation. Some breathed methane, others nitrogen compounds that would kill a human instantly. At the center of the council sat Grand Warlord Krax, his massive frame taking up 3 standard seats. His body resembled a reptile's, with thick armor plates grown naturally across his chest and face. He commanded the largest battle fleet in 7 spiral arms of the galaxy. His people, the Vraxians, had conquered 32 worlds in just 1 century. Behind Eliza stood her diplomatic team, Dr. Marcus Reed, who studied alien music, Lieutenant Darius Torres, security officer, and Professor Amara Okafor, expert in alien languages. None of them had expected their mission would end in a trial. Humans. Krax's voice boomed through the chamber without needing speakers. You stand accused of entering protected space without permission, taking resources without approval, and... He paused for effect. Contaminating our cultures. Eliza kept her voice steady as she responded. We entered Sector 7 with properly filed flight plans. Our mission was peaceful cultural exchange. Krax laughed, a sound like rolling thunder. Cultural exchange? Your species has existed in space society for barely 20 years. What culture could you possibly offer to beings who have sailed the stars for thousands of years? The other council members made their own sounds of laughter, owl clicks, hisses, and vibrations. Perhaps a demonstration, Eliza suggested. Nodding to Dr. Reed, Reed stepped forward holding a small device. With permission, I would like to share a small sample of human music, Human music. Krax interrupted with another loud laugh. Your primitive sound arrangements? Species at your level typically produce nothing but organized noise. Nevertheless, Eliza insisted, we request the right to present our case through demonstration. The council murmured among themselves, and Krax waved a dismissive claw. Proceed with your music. It will at least entertain us before we decide your punishment. Dr. Reed activated the device. The chamber filled with the opening. Notes of a piece carefully selected for this moment, an ancient Earth composition that had moved humans for centuries. The first notes of a single cello playing Bach floated through the air. Pure and simple, the music seemed to touch something deep and universal. Some council members who had been shifting restlessly grew still. Krax remained unimpressed, his scaled arms crossed over his massive chest. Is this the extent of human creativity? Single-toned vibrations in predictable patterns? Dr. Reed said nothing, simply allowing the music to continue. The piece gradually built in complexity. As the music developed, Eliza noticed something strange happening among the council delegates. The crystal-like Marexi began to glow in rhythm with the music. The gas-based Varelian's containment spheres shimmered with unusual colors. The music shifted to Mozart's Requiem, adding human voices to the instruments. A collective murmur rippled through the chamber. What is this? Demanded a delegate from the hive-minded Tasek collective. There is mathematics here we do not recognize. Nothing but emotional manipulation, Krax declared, but his voice carried less certainty than before. His inner eyelids flickered rapidly. A sign that Vraxians were thinking deeply. The music transitioned again, this time to a piece from West Africa or layered drumming patterns so complex that even the most advanced computing species in the chamber struggled to predict the next beat. Krax rose suddenly from his seat. Enough of this primitive Professor Okafor stepped forward. Warlord Krax, are you familiar with the concept of emotional mathematics? A contradiction in terms, he growled. Not to humans, she responded. Our music is both mathematical precision and emotional expression at the same time. These are not separate experiences for our species. The chamber grew tense as Dr. Reed changed the music once more, this time to a piece specifically designed for Vraxian hearing, something they had researched carefully before this mission. Krax's reaction was immediate and unexpected. He froze mid-gesture, his outer eyelids pulled back fully. a sign of extreme alertness or distress in his species. The massive warlord's breathing changed, becoming shallow and rapid. "How?" he began, but didn't finish his thought. The chamber watched in stunned silence as the fearsome warlord Krax, conqueror of worlds, sank slowly back into his seat. His armored chest plates shifted slightly, something his species couldn't control. "This sound," he said, his voice now softer, almost vulnerable. "It resembles the Song of Ascension from the first Vraxian Unity." He looked directly at the humans with new awareness. "How could you know this?" "Those records were lost thousands of years ago," Dr. Reed responded carefully. "We didn't know, Warlord. Human music independently evolved similar patterns. What you're experiencing is cross-species resonance, when certain mathematical and acoustic principles align across different evolutionary paths." The music continued, and something unprecedented occurred. A single drop of moisture formed at the corner of Krax's eye. The warlord who had overseen the destruction of entire civilizations was weeping. "Council is adjourned until tomorrow," announced the archivist, the neutral party who oversaw proceedings. "The humans will remain in diplomatic quarters until we reconvene." As they were escorted from the chamber, Eliza asked Okafor, "What exactly did we just trigger?" "Something profound," she responded. "But whether we've made a friend or an even more dangerous enemy remains to be seen." Back in their quarters, the human team debated what had happened. "I've never seen anything like it," Dr. Reed said, reviewing the recordings. The music affected nearly every species in the room, but Krax's reaction was extraordinary. "We should be cautious," Lieutenant Torres warned. "The Vraxians aren't known for their emotional vulnerability. This could make them see us as an even bigger threat." Professor Okafor shook her head. "I don't think so. The Vraxian language has ancient terms for sound emotional states that they no longer use. It's as if their culture lost something important long ago. Something our music reminded them of." Eliza mused. A soft chime interrupted them. A message appeared on their communication screen. "Grand Warlord Krax requests a private audience with the human delegation leader. Tomorrow, before the council reconvenes." The room fell silent. "It could be a trap," Torres said finally. "Or an opportunity," Eliza countered. "Either way, we're already on trial. What do we have to lose?" Dr. Reed looked troubled. "Actually, quite a lot. The Vraxians control the largest battle fleet in this sector. If they decided Earth was a threat, then we need to make sure they see us as an asset instead," Eliza said firmly. "Professor Okafor, I need everything you have on Vraxian cultural history. Dr. Reed, prepare more music selections. Focus on pieces that cause the strongest reaction. Lieutenant Torres, security protocols for tomorrow's meeting." As her team jumped into action, Eliza stared out the viewport at the vast space station that housed the Galactic Council. Somewhere in this massive structure, a being feared throughout known space was contemplating what he had felt when he heard human music. Tomorrow, the future of Earth might depend on what that warlord decided to do about those feelings. In her quarters that night, Eliza reviewed everything they knew about Vraxian history. There were strange gaps in the records where periods where the species seemed to change dramatically with little explanation. Most notably, about 3,000 years ago, they transformed from a society known for cultural achievements to the warrior civilization they were today. What if human music had somehow bridged that gap? What if it had awakened memories of what the Vraxians once were? As she prepared for sleep in the alien environment, Eliza made her decision. Tomorrow she would meet with Warlord Krax alone, and she would bring more music with her. The fate of Earth might depend on what happened when an alien warlord wept. The alien warlord mocked human musicum, then he wept. Part 2 morning came too quickly aboard the massive Galactic Council station. Eliza had slept poorly, her mind racing with possibilities for the meeting with Warlord Krax. "I still think this is a mistake," Lieutenant Torres said, as he checked her emergency beacon for the 3rd time. "At least let me accompany you." "The message specifically requested I come alone," Eliza reminded him. "Dr. Reed, is the music selection ready?" Reed handed her a small device. 5 pieces, each building on what seemed to affect the Vraxian neural patterns yesterday. If he had that strong a reaction to Bach, wait until he hears Beethoven's Ninth. Professor Okafor approached with a data tablet. "I've been researching all night. The historical records about Vraxians are strangely inconsistent. Before approximately 3,000 years ago, They were described as the harmonious ones in multiple alien texts. Then suddenly they became the conquerors. A cultural shift? Eliza asked. More like a forced evolution, Okafor suggested. There are hints in ancient records of something called the Great Forgetting. Whatever it was, it changed their entire species. A soft chime interrupted them. Your escort has arrived, Admiral Voss, announced the station's AI. Eliza tucked the music device into her pocket. Keep working. If I'm not back in 2 hours, we'll be monitoring your vital signs constantly, Torres assured her. Any sign of trouble and diplomatic immunity or not, we're coming for you. The meeting location was not what Eliza had expected. Instead of the formal council chambers or even a military briefing room, she was escorted to what appeared to be a garden. Alien plants from dozens of worlds grew in careful arrangements, creating an atmosphere of tranquility. Warlord Krax was already there, and his appearance shocked her. Gone was the formal battle armor, replaced by simple civilian clothing. His natural armor plates were dulled rather than polished to intimidate. Admiral Voss, he greeted her, his voice much quieter than in the council chamber. Thank you for coming. I was surprised by your invitation, Warlord, she replied honestly. After yesterday's incident, I felt a private conversation was necessary. He gestured to a seating area designed to accommodate various body types. Please. As they sat, Eliza noticed something else surprising. They were truly alone. No guards, no recording devices she could detect. You've brought more music, Krax stated, noticing the device in her pocket. I thought you might be interested in hearing more, she said carefully. Krax was silent for a long moment, his reptilian features difficult for a human to read. Finally he spoke. What you witnessed yesterday has never happened before. The emotional response? Any emotional response, he corrected. Fraxians do not weep, Admiral. We do not show vulnerability. It is not merely cultural, it is biological. Our species was modified. Long ago. Eliza felt a chill at his words. Modified by whom? Instead of answering directly, Krax produced a small object from his robes, and ancient-looking and clearly precious. Do you know what this is? She examined it carefully without touching. Some kind of instrument? The last surviving Vraxian harmonic resonator, from before the Great Forgetting. He handled it with surprising gentleness. Your music yesterday. It awoke memories not my own, but carried in my genetic lineage. Genetic memory? Eliza asked, fascinated. My species once used sound not for war declarations or territory marking, but for communion. His voice carried a weight of sadness. We were not always conquerors. The revelation was stunning. According to Krax, the Vraxians were once the galaxy's greatest artists and philosophers. Their harmonic compositions could transmit complex emotional states across species boundaries. They were peaceful, advanced, and respected. Then came the Silence Wars, when a mysterious power targeted and destroyed almost all Vraxian musical knowledge. Worse, they genetically modified the entire population to forget their artistic heritage and enhance their aggressive tendencies. The conquerors, you see, now are the traumatized descendants of poets, Krax said with startling openness. What your music played yesterday somehow bypassed thousands of years of genetic conditioning. Eliza absorbed this revelation. Is that why the Council fears cultural contamination from Earth? The Council fears what humans represent, Krax confirmed. You are dangerously similar to what my kind once were, balanced between logic and emotion, science and art. The galaxy has been carefully ordered to prevent such combinations. He activated the ancient instrument, which produced haunting, beautiful tones. This is the only surviving recording of true Vraxian music. I've protected it at the cost of being labeled a heretical collector. Why show me this? Eliza asked. Because tomorrow at the reconvened council I must either condemn humanity or lose everything I command, Krax said solemnly. And I need you to understand why. Eliza felt the weight of his words. There must be another way. Perhaps. Krax's inner eyelids flickered rapidly. You brought more music? Eliza nodded and activated Dr. Reed's device. The garden filled with the opening movements of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Krax's reaction was immediate. His breathing changed, his posture shifted. But this time he did not fight it. He closed his outer eyelids completely, focusing entirely on the sound. When the Ode to Joy began, something extraordinary happened. Krax began to hum along in perfect harmony but with tonal qualities no human could produce. The effect was haunting and beautiful. When the piece ended, Crax opened his eyes. There is more of my species' ancient music in your human composition than should be possible through coincidence. Music often follows universal mathematical patterns, Eliza suggested. Or perhaps your species remembers what mine was forced to forget, Crax countered. You said your mission was cultural exchange. Would you share more of this music with me? For the next hour, they listened together. Eliza played selections from different Earth cultures, whereas classical Western compositions, traditional Japanese koto pieces, African drum circles, Mongolian throat singing. With each piece, Crax seemed to awaken further, as if layers of conditioning were being stripped away. Finally, Crax spoke again. I have made a decision, Admiral. But before I share it, there is something you must know. There are factions within the Council who want humanity contained or eliminated. Your music is seen as a threat to the established order. But we've barely begun to explore beyond our solar system, Eliza protested. We're no threat to anyone. It is not what you are now, but what you might become, Crax explained. The same fears that led to the destruction of my species' true nature. A soft alert chimed from Crax's robes. He checked a small device, and his expression hardened back into the warlord she had first seen. You must return to your quarters immediately. Something is happening. What's wrong? Eliza asked, standing. Security alerts throughout the station. The secure archives have been breached. His voice lowered. And your team is being implicated. Eliza's blood ran cold. That's impossible. They've been in our quarters or... The evidence will say otherwise, Crax cut her off. Go now. Trust no one until the council reconvenes. Not even me if we meet in public. As Eliza hurried back through the station corridors, she noticed increased security presence. Alien guards from multiple species watched her with suspicion. When she reached the human quarters, she found Torres pacing anxiously. Thank the stars you're back, he said. Something's happening. Security systems all over the station went into lockdown about 20 minutes ago. Professor Okafor looked up from her data tablet. And that's not all. Look what I found in the public archives while you were gone. Okafor showed her images of ancient Vraxian Arta Hur before their transformation into warriors. The images depicted peaceful beings creating visual art and musical instruments nearly identical to some found on Earth. The similarities are too great for coincidence, Okafor said quietly. Either they influenced our development somehow or there's some common source for both our cultures. Eliza finished the thought. Dr. Reed joined them, his face grave. We may not have time to solve that mystery. I just intercepted a security bulletin. Someone accessed restricted archives using falsified human credentials. They're saying it was us. The implications were clear, they were being framed. And on the eve of their judgment by the council, the timing couldn't be worse. What did they access? Eliza asked. Files on Earth, Torres said. And something called the Silence Directive. The name sent a chill through Eliza, recalling Crax's words about the silence wars that had transformed his species. We need to clear our names before the council reconvenes, she said. And I think I know how. Dr. Reed, can you still access the chamber's acoustic systems from yesterday's demonstration? Reed nodded slowly. Yes, they never revoked my authorization. Why? Because tomorrow we're going to play the most important concert of our lives, Eliza said. And the future of Earth might depend on whether the council remembers how to weep. As night fell on the station, the human team worked frantically to prepare their defense. Unknown to them, other forces were moving through the shadows, determined to ensure humanity would be silenced, just as the Vraxians had been thousands of years before. And in his private chambers, Warlord Crax held the ancient harmonic resonator, feeling its weight in his hands as he made the most important decision of his long life. The alien warlord mocked human music. Then he wept. Part 3 dawn arrived with a harsh buzzing as the station's security protocols activated in the human quarters. A holographic message appeared in the center of the room. By order of the Galactic Council, the Earth delegation is confined to quarters under suspicion of espionage and unauthorized data access. So much for clearing our names before the hearing, Torres muttered. Eliza moved quickly. Our plan doesn't change. Reed, did you finish the programming? Dr. Reed nodded, dark circles under his eyes showing he hadn't slept. Yes, but we'll need to trigger it remotely now. I've modified this communication device to send the activation signal. Professor Okafor was analyzing the security footage that had supposedly caught them accessing restricted files. "The evidence against us is compelling but flawed," she said. "Look here. The figure has human proportions, but the gait is wrong. The stride length is too even. The arm swing too symmetrical. Someone who studied human movement but missed the subtle details." Torres agreed. "Can we prove it's fake?" Eliza asked. Okafor shook her head. "Not without access to the original security systems." A series of heavy knocks rattled the door. "Earth delegation. Prepare for escort to the council chambers. You have 5 minutes." As they gathered their materials, Eliza pulled her team close. "Remember the plan. No matter what happens when I give the signal, Reed activates the program. Torres, be ready for anything, but no weapons unless absolutely necessary. Okafor, you'll need to translate any rapid alien responses once the music begins. Are we clear?" They all nodded grimly. "For Earth," Eliza said quietly. "For Earth," they echoed. The escort to the council chambers was much larger than the previous day. 6 armored guards from different species, all carrying weapons. The corridors were eerily empty. All other diplomats and station personnel clearly ordered to stay away. The council chamber itself was packed beyond capacity. Every delegation wanted to witness the humans' downfall. Grand Warlord Crack sat impassively at the center, giving no indication of their previous conversation. His battle armor was back in place, polished to an intimidating shine. The archivist, a tall being with translucent skin showing its complex internal organs, began the formal proceedings. The council reconvenes to address the case of the Earth delegation, now with additional charges. In addition to unauthorized entry into protected space, resource extraction without approval, and cultural contamination, the delegation now stands accused of espionage against the Galactic Council, a capital offense. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Capital offense meant only one thing. If found guilty, the humans would not return to Earth. Evidence has been presented showing human access to restricted archives containing sensitive security information. The archivist continued. The delegation leader, Admiral Eliza Voss, will now be permitted to speak in defense. As Eliza stepped forward, she caught Cracks watching her intently. His outer expression remained harsh, but his inner eyelids flickered rapidly, the sign she now recognized as intense thought. "Honorable Council," she began, "the evidence against us is falsified. During the alleged security breach, all members of my team were in our quarters under station surveillance. We request a full comparison of the security footage." "The footage has been examined and verified by Council security experts," the archivist replied dismissively. "Do you have any actual defense to present?" Eliza felt the weight of dozens of alien species watching her, most hoping to see humans humbled. She drew a deep breath. "Yesterday, we demonstrated that human music contains mathematical and emotional patterns recognized across species boundaries. Today, I suggest those patterns may reveal a deeper truth about our shared history. A truth some want to keep hidden." Confused murmurs spread through the chamber. This was not the defense anyone had expected. The accusations against us appeared immediately after Grand Warlord Cracks and I discussed the history of the Vraxian people in something called the Silence Wars. Eliza continued boldly. "I believe we are being framed by those who fear what humanity represents." The chamber erupted in outraged sounds. The archivist banged a resonating rod for order. "These accusations are outrageous and irrelevant to the charges." Eliza caught Cracks's eye. The warlord's expression hadn't changed, but she noticed his claw move slightly. A subtle nod. "Then allow me to present relevant evidence," Eliza said firmly. "Yesterday, our music affected many council species in ways that surprised everyone. I propose a simple test. If our music truly represents cultural contamination, then further exposure should demonstrate harmful effects." The archivist hesitated. "This is highly irregular. I second the human's proposal." Cracks's powerful voice cut through the chamber. All heads turned to the warlord in shock. If human music is truly dangerous, the council should understand exactly how it affects us. The archivist couldn't easily dismiss the most powerful military leader in the council. "Very well. A brief demonstration will be permitted." Eliza nodded to Dr. Reed, who activated the hidden program with his modified communicator. For a moment, nothing happened. Then music began playing throughout the chamber, Not from the humans' devices, but from the Council's own systems. The composition was unlike anything heard before. Earth's greatest musical traditions interwoven with mathematical patterns that Dr. Reed and Professor Okafor had worked through the night to calibrate for different species' neural responses. Bach transitioned to Mongolian throat singing, which melded with West African polyrhythms, then flowed into classical Indian ragasa roar, each section specifically designed to activate particular neural patterns in different council species. The effect was immediate and profound. Council members responded physically, some swaying, others producing light patterns or releasing scent signals. The chamber became a symphony of cross-species reactions. "This is the final evidence of human contamination," shouted a delegate from a silicon-based species. "They manipulate us with these sounds." Krax rose slowly from his seat. The chamber fell silent except for the continuing music. "What you feel is not manipulation," he declared. "It is recognition." In a move that stunned everyone, Krax reached into his ceremonial armor and withdrew the ancient harmonic resonator he had shown Eliza the day before. He activated it, adding true Vraxian music to the human composition. The combination created something entirely new, a bridge across evolutionary divides. Before we were separated into conquest and submission, before the ancient powers divided us against each other, music was the universal language, Krax announced. These humans have independently rediscovered what the galaxy has been forced to forget. He turned to the stunned council. "I have personally accessed the security archives. The humans committed no espionage. The evidence was falsified by agents of the Silence Directive R, the same power that has kept us divided for millennia." Chaos erupted as this revelation spread. Council members turned to each other in confusion or anger. Ancient alliances began fracturing as species recognized they had been manipulated by forces they hadn't known existed. The archivist tried desperately to restore order. "Warlord Krax, you speak of myths and legends. The Silence Directive is not real." "Then explain this," Krax interrupted, projecting a hologram from his armor. It showed the security footage of the supposed human intruder, but enhanced and analyzed. The figure's movements were clearly non-human despite the disguise. This infiltrator's movement patterns match those of the Veiled Ones, the enforcement arm of the Silence Directive. A new voice joined the Chaos Ya, a delegate from the ancient Marexi, crystalline beings who rarely spoke in council. "Warlord Krax speaks truth. My species has records of the Silence Wars. We witnessed the changing of the Vraxians, but were sworn to secrecy on pain of extinction." The chamber descended into complete disorder. Some delegations were shouting accusations, others falling into stunned silence, still others hurrying to leave, presumably to contact their homeworlds. Amid the tumult, Krax approached the human delegation. His massive frame shielded them from the chaos around them. "You have perhaps 3 hours before the Council splinters completely," he said quietly. "Take your ship and return to Earth with this warning. They will come for your world next to silence your music before it spreads further." "Come with us," Eliza offered unexpectedly. "Earth would welcome what you know." Krax considered this impossible offer. "I have a battle fleet that must now choose between the old ways and what they felt today." He handed her the ancient resonator. "Take this to Earth. It contains the genetic memory of my people. Perhaps humans can help us remember who we once were." Tora stepped forward. "The station's security systems are failing. Multiple ships are preparing for emergency departure. If we're leaving, it needs to be now." Eliza took the resonator from Krax's clawed hand. "This isn't over, Warlord." "No," he agreed, his inner eyelids showing his true thoughts. "It is just beginning." As alarms blared throughout the station, the human team fought their way to the docking bay where their ship waited. The station was descending into pandemonium, while millennia-old alliances were shattering in real time as the truth of the Silence Directive spread. "What exactly did we just do?" Torres asked as they sealed the ship's airlock behind them. The alien warlord mocked human music. Then he wept. Part 4. The Earth Defense Fleet hung in orbit, weapons charged and shields at maximum. It had been 3 weeks since Admiral Eliza Voss and her team had returned with their incredible story of galactic politics, ancient conspiracies, and the power of human music. Most of Earth's military leadership had been skeptical, until the long-range sensors detected the massive Vraxian battle fleet approaching the solar system. In the high-security conference room of the orbital defense platform, Eliza stood before the assembled military commanders and government officials, the ancient Vraxian resonator on the table before her. "The fleet will reach our outer defense perimeter in less than 6 hours," she said calmly. "All attempts at communication have failed." General Rivera, the highest-ranking military officer present, frowned deeply. "So your friendly warlord has betrayed us after all?" "We don't know that," Dr. Reed interjected. "The Vraxian communication systems might be compromised. Or Krax might not be in command anymore." Professor Okafor nodded in agreement. "The political situation in the galaxy is chaotic. We've detected at least 3 major space battles between former Council allies in the past week alone." "Regardless of the reason," Rivera said firmly, "we have 67 Vraxian warships approaching Earth, each one capable of reducing a continent to ash. We need to prepare for the worst." Eliza looked at the resonator, its ancient metal surface etched with patterns that resembled both musical notations and mathematical equations. "There's another option. The resonator contains the cultural memory of the Vraxian people. If we could broadcast its contents, we've been trying to decode it for 3 weeks," Reed reminded her. "The data storage medium is unlike anything we've ever encountered." "And we're out of time," Rivera added. "We need to deploy the fleet to defensive positions now." As the military leaders filed out to prepare for what might be humanity's last stand, Eliza remained with her team in the conference room. "There has to be a way to activate the resonator," she insisted. "Krax gave it to us for a reason." Torres, who had been quietly studying the device for days, spoke up. "I think we've been approaching this wrong. We've been treating it like a data storage device, trying to extract information. But what if it's not meant to be decoded?" "What do you mean?" Reed asked. "What if it's meant to be played?" Torres suggested. "Like an instrument." Okafor's eyes widened. "Of course. It's a harmonic resonator. It doesn't store data in our sense of the word. It stores harmonic patterns." Reed quickly pulled out his equipment. "If we analyze it as an acoustic device rather than a digital one." For the next hour they worked frantically, scanning the resonator with every instrument they had. Finally, Reed let out a triumphant sound. "It's responding to sound. Look at these readings, Raud. When I play certain frequencies, parts of the internal structure vibrate in response." "Like a tuning fork," Eliza said. "Exactly," Reed agreed, "but infinitely more complex. It seems to be tuned to respond to very specific harmonic patterns." Torres looked skeptical. "Even if we can make it work, how does this help us against a battle fleet?" "Because the Vraxians communicate through harmonics," Okafor explained. "Their ship-to-ship communications, their battle commands, as everything is encoded in sound patterns. If we can broadcast the resonator's patterns, we might be able to reach the Vraxians themselves, bypass their command structures," Eliza finished. "It's worth trying. Let's get to the main communication array." The enormous communication dish at the edge of the platform was designed to maintain contact with the furthest human outposts. Now they would attempt to use it to reach an alien armada. As technicians hurriedly connected Reed's equipment to the broadcast system, General Rivera approached with a grim expression. "The Vraxian fleet has accelerated. They'll reach our defensive perimeter in less than 2 hours, and they've launched what appear to be scout ships ahead of the main fleet. We need more time," Eliza said. Rivera's face hardened. "I've authorized a limited defensive strike against the scouts. It might slow them down, but once we fire, there's no going back." "Wait," Eliza pleaded. "Give us 1 hour. If we can activate the resonator, 30 minutes, Rivera countered. "After that, I have to protect Earth." As the general departed, Eliza turned to her team. "You heard him. We have 30 minutes to prevent a war." Reed was already working, connecting the resonator to both his analytical equipment and the broadcast array. "I've identified 12 harmonic patterns that seem to be primary keys in the resonator. But without knowing the correct sequence, try them all," Eliza ordered. "One at a time. Full broadcast strength." As Reed began transmitting the first harmonic pattern, the resonator hummed to life. Its surface began to glow with a soft blue light, patterns shifting across its ancient metal. "Something's happening," Torres observed. "But is anyone listening?" In the command center, monitoring stations suddenly lit up with alerts. "The scout ships have changed course," a technician reported with surprise. "They've stopped advancing." Eliza exchanged hopeful glances with her team. "Keep broadcasting. Try the next pattern." Reed activated the second harmonic sequence. This time the resonator's glow intensified and it began to emit a sound low and haunting, unlike anything human ears had heard before. Professor Okafor's eyes widened as she monitored the response. The Vraxian ships are transmitting something back on the same frequency. Put it through, Eliza ordered. The speakers filled with a complex harmonic pattern, similar to what the resonator was producing, but with subtle variations. It's like, they're singing with us, Reed said in awe. The main fleet is slowing, came the report from the command center. All vessels reducing speed. Eliza felt a surge of hope. Keep going. Try combining patterns now. As Reed worked the controls, the resonator's output became more complex layers of sound interweaving in mathematical patterns that seemed to shift and evolve. The response from the Vraxian ships grew similarly complex. I think it's working, Torres said cautiously. But what exactly is happening? Communication, Okafor replied, her eyes fixed on her linguistics displays. But not in any language we understand. This is deeper. It's bypassing the conscious mind and speaking directly to something more fundamental. General Rivera strode back into the broadcast center, his expression confused. The Vraxian fleet has stopped completely. They're holding position just beyond Mars' orbit. What did you do? We're not entirely sure, Eliza admitted. But I think as she was interrupted as all communications suddenly cut off. The resonator went dark and the incoming transmission ceased. What happened? Rivera demanded. Something's interfering with the broadcast, Reed said, checking his equipment. Some kind of jamming signal. The main view screen activated, showing a single Vraxian ship breaking formation and approaching Earth at high speed. Defensive systems online, Rivera ordered. Track that vessel. Wait, Eliza said. Look at the configuration. That's a diplomatic vessel, not a warship. Indeed, the approaching ship was smaller than the massive battlecruisers with different markings. It was moving fast but had no weapons powered. We're receiving a transmission, a communications officer announced. Text only in standard galactic format. The message appeared on screen. Admiral Voss, the resonator sings true. Request immediate personal meeting. Coming alone. Ha cracks. The tension in the room was palpable. Could they trust this message? Was it really cracks? It could be a trap, Torres warned. Or it could be our only chance to prevent a war, Eliza countered. General, I request permission to meet with the Vraxian envoy. Rivera considered for a long moment, weighing the fate of Earth in his decision. Permission granted. But not on Earth and not alone. We'll use the neutral meeting facility on Luna Base, and I want a full security team. Within the hour, Eliza found herself in the sterile conference room of Luna Base, Earth's heavily defended outpost on the moon. Behind her stood Torres and a team of elite Earth defense soldiers. Before her, the airlock cycled open to admit the Vraxian visitor. The figure that entered was unmistakably Craxay, but changed. Gone was the battle armor, replaced by a simple garment that left much of his natural armored hide exposed. But more startling were the visible medical devices attached to his body, particularly at the base of his skull and along his spine. Admiral Voss, he greeted her, his voice softer than she remembered. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Warlord Crax, she replied cautiously. Your fleet's approach caused quite a stir. Former warlord, he corrected. And I apologize for the alarm. Communication has been difficult since the council fractured. Eliza gestured to the devices on his body. You're injured? Not injured. Healing. He touched the device at the base of his skull. These are medical units removing the control implants our species has carried for 3,000 years. The process is not without pain. He walked closer, moving with less of the predatory grace she remembered. When you activated the resonator, it reached those of my kind who had already begun removing their implants. We responded as quickly as we could. And the rest of your fleet? Eliza asked.